Hello folks, this is Scott with Dallas Paint Correction and Auto Detailing here in Dallas, Texas. I want to follow along the last couple of videos I made about rinseless washing. My videos ended up on detailing forums, Facebook forums, and I want to address some of the concerns or some of the statements I made within my videos, because a lot of people below these forums are kind of beating me up, and I love it. I'm grateful. My stuff is getting out there. Who knows what's going on, but I'll go along with it. What I have here is a car that was washed probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's not excessively dirty. I just want to do a rinseless wash, right? I want to do a rinseless wash the way ONR intended a rinseless wash to be used. Folks, let me put you down. I'm so sorry, so sorry. This is a pain in the butt, right? Let me make sure we're still in view. We still in view? Okay, so here we go. You see the car, it's not excessively dirty, and I make that point for a reason. If I look at ONR and I read the instructions on the bottle, a lot of people told me, Scott, you don't know how to use a rinseless wash. In fact, Optimum never said you couldn't pre-rinse or pre-treat the panel before using a rinseless wash. They said to me the only reason why it's called a rinseless wash is because you don't have to rinse the car off after you use the soap. You can just dry buff. Folks, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, and I can't stop laughing. The reason why we have rinseless washes to begin with, this is a very, very important point. They were always designed and created for people who had no water available to them. They were made for people who live in water-restricted areas. They were made for people who could not have any runoff at all by blowing off the car with the hose or a power washer, because they didn't want that runoff going into the drainage system. That is the reason why ONR came into existence. They were trying to fill a market where people who lived in those restrictions could have a soap to be able to clean their car. It does not mean you should, because here's the point. Instructions 1 through 4 tells you to put 1 ounce into 2 gallons of water. It tells you to use your sponge, your microfiber towel, whatever you want to use as your wash media. It then tells you to go ahead and dry off the paint when you're done. No mention of a hose, no mention of pre-treating the panel, no mention of using power clean prior to using this stuff. Why? Because then that would not meet the requirements for which the product was created, or all rinseless washes were created. It also, this is very important. Now, you guys got a chance to look at this car. Is it excessively dirty to you? I don't think it's excessively dirty. It was washed about 2-3 weeks ago. I'm going to go in and do a rinseless wash the way ONR wants it. It also says right here, which is very interesting, a special note, excessively dirty surfaces may require a second wash before drying, which means that you follow steps 1 through 4 again to clean off the car. Again, no mention of a hose. Why? Because that would be breaking its own integrity to the reason why the soap was even created in the first place. Folks, let me ask you a question. Have you ever used a traditional car soap where you would rinse off the car first and then go in with your soap? Maybe your Adams, maybe your Meguiar's, maybe your Sonex. Have you ever had to wash the car twice? Well, I've been doing this for 27 years. I'm not a fan of pH-neutral soaps, but I technically never have to wash a car twice unless I missed a spot, and I'm to blame for that. That's a bummer. But most of us will agree, if we pre-rinse, wash the car with a traditional soap, your 9 buckets, your 25 buckets, whatever you guys use, you're most likely going to get the car the first time every time you go to wash it. But again, there's no mention of a hose, so they have to tell you, and there's no mention of pre-treating the panel with anything. They have to tell you, hey, if it's excessively dirty, you're going to have to do steps 1 through 4 all over again. So I look at those people who say, Scott, I don't understand rinseless washing. I absolutely understand it. I know why it's here. I know the science behind it. The thing that concerns me is that a lot of people use this soap exclusively now going forward as pro detailers, and I'll get into that in a minute, and why I think that's a bad idea. Okay, so I've got this car. I want to start at the roof, right? Work my way down, just like we would do with any other car. I have a 1 ounce bucket. I have a gallon bucket on the ground. It's got, no, excuse me, I got a couple gallon bucket. It's got 2 gallons of water and 1 ounce of ONR in it. I'm going to take, no, it's not a Big Red Sponge by ONR. This happens to be a very soft yellow sponge by Meguiar's. It's dripping here with the ONR solution on it. You can use a microfiber towel. Whatever you want to do, you do it however you want to see it. This car is not excessively dirty to me. I'm going to go across this surface carefully. I don't want to scratch or mar the paint. I want to trust the fact that ONR can encapsulate, emulsify, and lubricate the panel at the same time. I want to do like what Ivan LaCroix says, be very gentle. I don't want to scratch the paint. When I see him use the big red sponge, he's going across it so gently all the way down the panel, right? So I'm going to follow those steps. After all, he educates people on how to use ONR. So I'm going to go across this panel, reach over here with my big gorilla arms. Be careful. I got half the hood. I'm going to go use the other side of my sponge for the other side of the hood. Bear with me, folks. Let me get this other side of the panel done. You guys get to see me today in the video. What a treat, right? Nobody wants to see my ugly mug. But I'm going to go all the way across this panel, gently, carefully, trust the emulsifying, the encapsulating of the surface, trapping all that dirt, making sure there's plenty of lubrication on the panel so I don't scratch the surface of the paint. Now let me bring you guys in so you guys can see this sponge. Guess what? It did a pretty good job. I've got dirt all over the sponge, on both sides of the sponge. I'm happy with that. Again, the wash media is your way to be able to pick that stuff up. The emulsifying, encapsulating is kind of working on the surface now, right? I'm working on a horizontal panel. I did not pre-rinse this stuff because that's not what ONR wanted me to use as far as a rinseless wash is concerned. That's not how it was intended or created. I also know common sense tells me that the wash sponge was able to pick up all that stuff. I can see it on it. I'm grateful for that. Thank you. Now I'm going to go in and dry the surface just like ONR intended. I'm going to take this orange microfiber cloth, right? It's clean. I want it to be orange. Let's see if I get any dirt to show up on this thing. I want to be very careful when I go into the drying process. I'm not going to use a drying agent. I'm just going to buff dry on its own. I'm going to go across here. I've got some lubrication on the panel. I can feel it as I kind of wipe this microfiber across the surface of the paint. I like that there's some lubrication there. It could be better, but there's some lubrication. I'm going to go over to the other side of the hood and complete the process and dry off this hood as best as I can. I don't want any streakiness from the ONR. I want to pick up whatever's on there, the fluid, the water. Here we go. Let me bring you in here. Let me run around so somebody says, no, he picked up another microfiber towel. Here's the microfiber towel I just used to dry off the top of that hood or that roof on a non-excessively dirty car, in my opinion. Can you guys see the amount of dirt that is all over this drying towel? It's all over the place. Guess what? Yes, it emulsifies, it encapsulates, but when you're working on a horizontal panel, that sponge can only pick up so much stuff. You're still going to have a lot of garbage on the surface of the paint, and it's going to show up on your drying towel. I sure hope that's showing up, right? I think that's pretty easy to see. There's a lot of dirt on that microfiber. Folks, what if I chose to use OptiSeal, a spray wax, whatever sealant I wanted to use as a drying agent buff into the paint? I would be compromising that wax or that sealant. It would not have the best chance to be able to bond to the paint because, again, I've got dirt all over this microfiber. That tells me I'm spraying it into a dirty area of trying to clean off the paint or apply a sealant. It's not going to bond all that well. Folks, this is not an excessively dirty car. I'm not beating up ONR here in the moment because I'm using it just the way they wanted me to use it. Is it good science? Well, in my opinion, it's the only science we have for people who live in water-restricted areas, for those who have runoff laws, have no water available to them. It'll get the job done. Maybe the car looks cleaner to you. It does to me, but I also know that a lot of the steps were compromised along the way. It's not the best result for a pro detailer. Why do I bring this up as a pro detailer perspective only? Well, a lot of people really like this stuff and they use it as a, maybe they don't have water available to them. Great, they can actually get the job done. That's awesome. That's the way it was intended. But a lot of pro detailers are now using this stuff as their main method of washing a car. Yes, they're going to go in, but they might look at this car and say, Scott, I thought it was excessively dirty. I'm going to pre-treat with Power Clean, rinse off, and then use ONR. Why in the world would you do that? If you have water available to you, you don't live in a water restricted area, you don't have runoff laws, why would you pre-treat with Power Clean, rinse off the vehicle, and then go in and use ONR? That doesn't even make sense to me, but you want to know why? There are better soaps right out of the gate that can guarantee you traffic film removal without having to pre-treat the panel, rinse it off, and then use ONR. You're also drying, it's just so, I'm going to stop right there. I think I've made my point. But the issue here, folks, is that the only concern I have with so-called technology and new science, pro detailers are grabbing this stuff, and in my opinion, we are not offering the best service, the highest rate of success of removing traffic film off people's cars. We have to honor the fact that people are paying us to get the job done. They can do this themselves, by the way. This is like wiping off a countertop in somebody's kitchen. Anybody can do this. If you're a car enthusiast or you own your own vehicle and you want to use this system, 2 thumbs up. It's all up to you. You do what you want. It's your car. But as a pro, if I use this stuff as it was intended, as it was created, and because I don't live in a water-restricted area, I don't have runoff laws, there's no reason for me to use this soap as a professional unless I'm washing a car in a warehouse, has light dust on it. I don't have availability to water. Then I'm grateful it exists. But it's not going to ever be the method I use as a pro to guarantee my clients the highest rate of success of removing traffic film, giving them the highest success of being able to have a paint sealant or a wax actually bond to the paint without being sprayed into a compromised field as I'm drying off the ONR with it. Folks, I love you all. I hope that helps you out. But folks, I'm sorry for some of you who said a rinseless wash was only because you didn't have to rinse it off after you use it. That is absolutely not true. ONR would never want to mention a hose or pre-treating the panel, because then it would be competing against all the other traditional car soaps on the planet. They'd also be competing with themselves, by the way. This stuff costs $40 a gallon. Their traditional car soap, which would probably clean this car off better because I would rinse, wash, and then rinse again, actually costs less than $40 a gallon. ONR never wanted, or Optimum never wanted to compete against themselves, but because so many professional detailers have adopted this and hold this thing like a little baby, they look at them and go, hey, how great for us. This stuff is $40 a gallon. Let's tell them they can pre-treat the panel. They can rinse if they want after. It's like playing Monday morning quarterback from a marketing perspective. But it's not the best cleaner. It's not going to remove all the traffic film off the car. It's not going to give you the highest rate of success of making sure the paint sealant can bond to the paint as a drying agent if you use it the way the instructions are written or the way the solution was created by Dr. David Caduce. Listen, folks, I love you all. I'm not beating up any one particular company, but I absolutely believe in my heart that if Optimum ever wanted you to use a hose and they want you to use this exclusively as your soap as a pro to take care of your clients, they need to change the instructions. You cannot walk around doing this process for your clients, getting their money for it, only to find out that all the steps you did were compromised along the way. That's not the definition of a pro detailer. I love you all. Take care.